Let me just double check to make sure we're live on YouTube, and then it's going to be a slight delay. All right, if you guys can hear me on YouTube, please can you guys type in the comment section that you guys can hear me? That way we can start the NXT community and development update.
Bass's laptop is updating. He's going to join us.
Okay. All right, I see us live on the YouTube live stream now.
Let me just double check to make sure we're live on YouTube.
Let's mute that. All right, let's go ahead and get started, guys. Sorry about starting late this time, guys. I was in California and my cell phone did not reset because the location device was turned off to save battery when I was on the plane, so it was not. So my wife had to remind me that I had some type of Bitcoin update today that I had to do. So sorry about that. I'm gonna post the links for the next update after I finish this one, so that in the future for next week or whenever we do the next one, it won't be at the last minute like it is with this one, guys. So hopefully this will be the last time. We're still ironing out the kinks of these updates, all right? So there's a few issues that we need to address and update everyone with, and this is a big concern on the in the NXT community, and it's in regards to the Cointropolis issue. I'm going to call it the Cointropolis issue for now, and not, we can call it the Cointropolis hack, right? And also the Blue Mini after effect afterwards, also. Okay, so let's go and get started. So to catch everyone up in the NXT community, we invited John, who is from the Cointropolis company, to go and represent and speak about NXT and about the asset exchanges and stuff at the Pay Expo in London last week. And while he was there, a post was created on the forum stating that there was a huge business opportunity, and then people should send him some bitcoins and stuff. Now, unbeknownst to John, he did not realize that his computer was being hacked into. And the hacker who posted on the forum was not actually him. And then when he discovered it after he landed in the U.S. or on his flight back to the United States, that's when he discovered that his account had been hacked in the forums once he landed in the U.S. So myself and we have Elizabeth, who is a QBTC on the forums, and Damalon and Unicorn. We have spoken with John about this issue because we want to make sure that if we are going to work with him, and we need to know if this was indeed the truth or not, whether he got hacked or if he indeed attempted to use his reputation to hustle the NXT community out of 200 bitcoins. Okay, now according to our preliminary research and investigation, we have it seems very suspicious, but we suspect that out of the 202 bitcoins that were sent to the hacker's account, that the majority of them did not belong to the NXT community, and the majority of them belong to the hacker himself. So basically, what the hacker attempted to do was to post under John's Cointropolis account, and then the hacker started sending bitcoins to his own account to basically prime the pump and create a type of social proof that people were participating in the investment scheme. All right, so it was very suspicious because the first few transactions were approximately 3 minutes apart, and then later on it spread to 15 minutes apart before it came back to 3 minutes apart again. So apparently, to make it look like they were random transactions, the hacker spaced the Bitcoin transactions fairly apart, but they were very consistent. All right, so right now we recommend that. When I say we, myself and Elizabeth and others who are doing the investigation right now, we recommend that you guys set aside your beliefs about the situation and give us an opportunity to investigate the matter. One of the things that's going on is that John is cooperating with us 100%. There has not been anything that we asked, and he has not done. For example, Gamelon, or his real name is Bass. Bass has requested access to his PMs and emails, private emails and stuff, and he has already started researching through the emails and everything. And within those emails, there has been clearly times when John was asked to broker large sums of Bitcoin transactions, over 100 Bitcoins at a time. So, and Bass has confirmed with the people that were involved that the brokerage transactions were successful. So that clearly that's a good indication that that John has handled over 100 Bitcoins in the past without stealing them. Okay, so it makes it very suspicious that he would go and try to hustle the community and ruin his reputation when there has been opportunities in the past where he has had opportunities to run off with other people's money and he did not. Okay, so another thing that we want to make clear is that if he did indeed try to take advantage of the community with his reputation, most people like that are not going to stick around to cooperate with the people who are investigating the hack. All right. So far he has been cooperative, and I have requested. I personally have some friends that train the federal law enforcement, the FBI, and the Secret Service, and several other law enforcement agencies in the United States in computer and cell phone forensics. So I have requested that John turn over the hard drive that was in his computer at the Pay Expo, or create an image of it and send it to me, or not to me, but to the forensics company, so they can do forensics on the hard drive. So he has cooperated with that, and we are waiting for the hard drive. So until then, I would ask that everyone just remain neutral. Some of you guys know that when I was young, as a teenager, I got in trouble for drugs before, and I was sent to prison for crimes that I did not commit. I was guilty of drugs, having a small quantity of drugs, but I did not commit the other crimes that they accused me of, and so I spent a portion of my life in prison for something that I did not do. So I'm very, very cautious on things like this, where someone is being accused of a crime that they did not commit. Now, at the same time, I spent a lot of time around hustlers and criminals who would play off being honest and have integrity in the first few transactions to build up a reputation, and then once the size of the transaction got bigger, then they would run off with it. So, so I have seen this happen many times. So I am remaining neutral. I'm not saying that John is innocent. I'm not saying that John is guilty. But myself and Bass, who just joined us, and Elizabeth, well, we have different connections and different resources to do our best to investigate this matter. So I ask that you guys give us an opportunity to do that, and not just spit out accusations saying that that John is a scam or Cointropolis is a scam or any of that. Because saying that someone is a scam does not make does not prove anything. Okay, if you go into court and you say that someone is a scam or someone's no good, that will never hold up in court, and no one's ever going to believe that, because that's not solid evidence. That's not facts. That's nothing. Okay, so I'd like to see if Elizabeth has anything to add to this issue.
Well, thank you, Ty, for what you've done for this, for moderating some of the chats and the discussions that we've had with John. It's a sad situation. It's sad that we're all, or that there's many people looking for opportunities right now to pull down the reputation of NXT and the NXT community. The NXT community is something that we've all kind of worked hard for over the past few months. And if you look at a lot of the talk about next out and about, it's something that we have going for us. It's one of our solid strengths that people reference and refer to. And this situation and the situation with Blue Meanie and some other potentially toxic situations have the potential to pull us all apart as a community. And I, for one, hope that doesn't happen. I hope that we can keep level heads, that we can refrain from accusation, that we can pursue truth, and that we can stick together as a community and not let external forces pull us apart on these points.
Yes, and I'd like to add to that not only do we have to prove to the world that the NXT platform and technology is resilient against attacks. You know, we have Gene Luke and we have Wesley and we have other guys that are working on that matter on the security side. But for the people who are not the developers and the coders, we also have to prove to the world and show the world that the NXT community and its development people are not we are also resilient against personal attacks from people that are looking to take down the NXT community and the technology itself. All right. And do you have anything to add to that, Bass? Your microphone on?
Yeah, my microphone is on now.
Okay.
Yes, it's an uneasy situation in that, as far as we can determine now, never know what will happen in the future, of course. It seems that the outcome is we cannot accuse anyone, and we can also not convict anyone. And when something like this happens, that always is extremely irritating for a lot of people. People want closure, can't get it. Not a good thing. From the forum side, we're trying to do everything that we can. I really am happy with the way the community at large reacted to this. It's quite amazing to be on the internet, have something like this happen, and see a lot of people be so calm about it and just try to take the steps that are necessary. That's very good. I also, for those who haven't read the thread, I wanted to say that with a few people whose Bitcoin have been taken, I have been in email and phone contact with one of them, and he has contacted some other victims, and they are trying to see what legal steps they can take, not to get, not basically on the assumption that we can get someone, but at least that they have taken some action too, and that it's reported to the authorities. And I and the forum are cooperating with that, of course.
Now, I want to bring up the issue. We normally do not single out an individual in these updates, or we do not like to talk bad about anyone. In this particular case, we have an individual that goes by the display name Blue Meanie, and we want to address this issue about Blue Meanie because we have a conflict of interest here where Blue Meanie was hired and contracted and paid to develop portions of the NXT code. And now,
Ty, let me stop you here. I am not getting involved in this discussion.
okay.
Really, we are still in the middle of this, and I'm not willing to engage in a discussion where the facts are not yet clearly known. I will not do that.
Okay.
You know, I don't want to accuse anybody. I just kind of want to know what other people know. Like, you know, I don't want to attack this guy or anything like that.
No.
I'm just wondering,
I did some research yesterday, I can tell you what came out of that. That's as far as I want to go, and the rest of it is still so unclear that I feel very, very uncomfortable with making this bigger than at this point is needed.
Yeah, I
We
mean,
have one person who's called Blue Meanie on the forums. He is involved in developing things for Next, a few features. Also, together with James, JL777, an asset was issued. This is one of the contentious things that are in contention, how that went. I'm not willing to arbitrate in that one. There was a significant amount of Next and assets transferred, and that amount of Next and a few of those assets, not all, were also cashed out to be turned. This is what is visible for everyone on the blockchain.
Yeah.
This does also not mean that this Next has been cashed out, because no way to see that. We cannot look into the third account. And the issue at hand now is because Blue Meanie has also expressed significant doubts with the NXT code on Bitcoin Talk, after which investors started worrying about, okay, what do we have here? There's a mixed signal. We have someone who's issuing quite well, basically anti-Next posts on Bitcoin Talk. He's also listed as a developer. What's the situation? And yesterday that situation escalated, and as happens then, emotions get involved. People started getting really worried because people didn't know what was happening with their shares anymore. And that situation, how that went, hasn't been resolved yet. That's at this moment, because I know that this is still ongoing. So if this, there is a part involved, and Blue Meanie has already said this. There are some community funds that have been transferred to him. He has already stated that he's willing to give those back. And the issue at stake now is about the large amount of Next and assets that have been transferred between him and JL777, and that's a different issue. So that's where it is at right now. It's again, things have gotten mixed in to this discussion. People have started making accusations about Blue Meanie that they could not substantiate.
No, there's things that we cannot substantiate about Blue Meanie, but there are things that we do have evidence for. Is that he was paid, he accepted funds from the NXT community, and now he's bashing the NXT and saying that it's worthless. Okay, so the reason why I bring up the issue with Blue Meanie is I would invite people to just not read into that until we have some facts and we have some evidence of what's going on with the Cointropolis issues.
Yes, that's where the mix-in came. People started accusing Blue Meanie of being the scammer that actually perpetrated the scam with that.
Yeah.
And there is no proof whatsoever.
There's no proof, exactly. There's no proof or no evidence right now, okay, of Blue Meanie's involvement with Cointropolis. The only thing that I was bringing up the issue of Blue Meanie was to let people know that, just because he says that NXT is worthless or, does not mean that, it's worthless, okay? He has no facts to state. There's no computer code that he brought up that he discovered while working on the NXT code. So I would invite, people to just suspend their beliefs with him, okay? And I also find it very suspicious, okay, when someone accepts money for development, and then after they receive it, they turn around and accuse the people of having bad code or whatever the accusations are. I am in no way saying that Blue Mini is involved with Cointropolis issue. Please understand that. I'm just saying that I do not believe anyone's words when they chose to accept money and then turn around after they take the money, they have not produced a code, and then they say bad things about the NXT. That's
we
all I
know
was bringing up.
is supposedly still working on it? Or, you know,
As far as I know, he claims that he still is willing to work on it, but my personal opinion of it is, if I then so this is not me speaking as an admin, is that there is at least a bad working relationship at the moment. Another thing that I find very important, this is a forum thing. People have started yesterday posting personal details of him on the forums, not allowed, and people will get banned for that. We do not
why is
allow.
that,
That's a clear thing, at least.
why is that not allowed?
We just don't allow posting personal details on the forums. It's a rule we implemented because people can play, and we saw it already on Bitcoin Talk today. People can play the vigilante with that. If you post your own personal details, no problem. That's your business, but not for a third party. So yesterday there was a post already. I'm going to your house. For anyone who wants to join me, this is your address. This is the address to meet him. That's just not something we will take responsibility for. It will be deleted, and it will at least be.
Yeah.
It can lead to a temporary ban.
Yeah, I agree with Bass on that because you know, people have to be able to feel safe and comfortable coming into the forums. They don't need to be threatened, and they don't need to be blackmailed. Okay.
No.
So I want to make it very clear so that people don't misinterpret this. Okay. I am not accusing Blue Mini of the Cointropolis hack. Okay. All I'm telling people is that his words should be discredited simply because he was paid to do development on the NXT code, and after accepting the funds, he's trashing the NXT code before he finished his task that he was paid to do.
Another housekeeping. I'm sorry, Aaron. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Another housekeeping rule or guideline about the forum that came up is that there were people who were posting excerpts from personal communication, PMs, Skype chats, things like that, on forums as well, and those have been deleted. I found out and would like to support the idea that it's not allowed on the forum to post what you've communicated in a different private communication.
I want to make clear, this is also very important because when the word allowed comes up, people tend to get into spasm sometimes. It's the reason behind it is that we want to try to make it as safe as possible for people to speak freely in a private place. There are numerous places where these things are being posted. That's then their choice. We cannot police everywhere, and we're not willing to do this. I'm not even speaking against people there. But on the forums, for the next forums, we've decided to do it this way. And it's known. The rules are open for everyone to see, and it's also when people now register on the forum, also already for a month, they see these rules. So that's a choice.
What if we have irrefutable evidence that these people are, or someone, not anyone we're talking about now, but in theory, is in fact irrefutably a scammer? We want those people to be safe. I don't want scammers to be safe.
No. Let me, for instance, if someone has solid evidence, then I call on them to come forward. Of course, it's certainly not should become a safe haven because we do it like this. The idea is to get a safe environment for people who want to speak. Sometimes you just want everybody is allowed to say that Next is crap. There's nothing wrong with that, but then you need to back up your words. If you're willing to do that, you're allowed to do that in the forum too. Gladly, actually, because it's better for everybody to know where the weak holes are so they can be fixed. They're not. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just if, for instance, I have a fight with someone and I want to take it out into the forum in a different way, and knowing how the internet works, and people with a very short, who are angry already, they take the law into their own hands. I don't want, as a forum administrator and as a community, to take responsibility for that, and then we definitely will remove it. Also, when someone is a scammer, then he needs to be proven like that. If it's proven, no problem at all. That's how it works. But even then, if we start posting addresses and people, for instance, I know how it works here in Holland. We have people who have been sentenced, had their punishment, and then start getting threatened at home. That's also a very controversial issue, how you handle that. But that is farther than your question, then. The idea is not to protect criminals at all.
Yep.
Okay. Does anyone else have any last word on this Cointropolis issue before we move on? Because I want to update the community with some of the developments in the NXT development. Okay. So there's been a lot of confusion about the asset exchange in the NXT asset exchange, and Aaron is here so that we can discuss some of the things that are confusing people with the asset exchange and what it's capable of doing and what it should be used for or how it can be used. So if you have any questions coming up here in the next few minutes about the asset exchange, please type it in the YouTube live stream chat. And I will, and then I'll get Aaron to answer it. So, talk about Aaron. Can you talk a little bit about the asset exchange and what it is for, and how it should be used, or what your understanding of it is?
Yeah, I guess it's sort of an agnostic system that you can use to imbue outside value on tokens that are marketable and tradable, and any sort of value that you can imbue on it with, via the proxy of your own reputation and your trustworthiness to the community. You can do sort of really cool stuff with that. One good example is I was thinking about, I've done escrow for IPOs for altcoin startups and stuff for a little while now. And I was thinking how much cooler it would be if, instead of having people send me amounts and then have like spreadsheets and keep up with all this stuff, if I could just issue like 1 trillion tokens, and then set a buy order and a sell order, 0.000001 next apart, and let anyone who wants buy the stake, and anyone who wants to get back out for any reason just sell it right back to me, because it would both be on the asset exchange, that they could then get in and get out without ever having to talk to me, without ever have to dealing with wait times and cost from me for keeping up with their records and things like this. And and then later, once it became time to be done with the IPO, I could just take down the buy order and the sell order, and then whatever's left outstanding, we just divide the total units of account in their altcoin, whatever they're doing, by the outstanding number of shares on the asset exchange, and then just divvy up the stake according to what portion of the total outstanding tokens they have on their account. And that would save like a huge amount of work. That's just one example that's really cool and makes it marketable the whole time, where people can trade the stake back and forth amongst themselves without needing to involve me in that process, and thus incurring extra cost and stuff.
Okay. And so basically, it's a way for a person or a group or a party to issue pretty much an IPO or shares in their project. Is that what it is?
It's just an accounting system. I mean, you can imbue any sort of value that you want onto that accounting system that's applicable for it, but IPOs are one example. There's a ton of different things you could do. The other really...
So can you give us a few more basic examples? Because what happens is a lot of times when people are watching this and they're getting involved and using the asset exchange for the first time, they may not come from a financial background, or they may not come from Wall Street, so they may not know what an IPO is. They may not know what, they may know what the term asset is, but they may not know what it means. Could you use it like in like, how would everyday businesses and everyday people use it? Is it like a Craigslist? Is it an ad system? What? How is it used?
Like I was saying before, it's a lot more agnostic than that. It's not any one thing. It's just an accounting system that you can do a lot of different things with. So I gave that one example. I'll give another example. Is my silver bullion project, which in that situation I use my reputation in the system in the Next ecosystem to imbue the value of 1 ounce of silver to a token, and I do that by promising to people that if they send me my tokens, I'll send them silver. And so long as they trust that that's the truth, then these tokens take on the attributes and property of silver, but with other advantages in that they're much more liquid and they can be traded over long distances. And then this opens up like a lot of neat features that you can do, where people can like profit on arbitrage. They can take an exit from, take some profits from Next that they maybe, if they're like an early stakeholder or something, without crashing the price, they could buy my assets when the price is, when they think that Next is overbought, in order to take a short position that wouldn't really crash the price either.
Okay, so basically, let's do this scenario so that people can understand it and I can understand it too. So let's say that I want an ounce of silver from you, and you issue a token that represents that silver ounce. So if I send in 1,000, let's say that you say that each one is worth 1,000 NXT coins, and I send you 1,000 NXT coins. Does that mean that now that I own the tokens, I can send you the tokens and say, hey, send me my 1 ounce of silver? I don't know if you're still there or not.
Yep, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, the last thing I heard you say was, suppose that I want to acquire an ounce of silver.
Okay, so yeah. So let's say that you are issuing these tokens that represents an ounce of silver. And you say that each token is worth 1,000 NXT coins, and I send you 1,000 NXT coins in there. How do?
Well, no, I don't.
Are you still there?
I mean, I guess
Something's
you
up.
can't hear me?
No, you're breaking up. Like we're not seeing anything or hearing anything when you go to speak.
Still not hearing anything? I mean, I can log out and try logging back in, I guess.
Okay, it's good now. It's good now. Go ahead.
Okay. So I don't set the price, because I don't know what the price of an ounce of silver is. What I do is, so one client, so client 1 will send me like 100 ounces of silver, and I'll send them 100 tokens, and then they can sell that for whatever they want. And then if you want to acquire silver, then what you'll do is go onto the asset exchange, buy up however many ounces of tokens you want on the asset exchange, and then just send those tokens to me, and I'll send you silver.
Okay. So how do we know? Let's say that you have a good reputation in the community, and so if I trust you, then I can send you, I can buy those tokens on the asset exchange and hope that you send the silver. Is there a way to do it to where I don't have to trust the person on the other end?
No, because
like what's to prevent someone from just listing a bunch of garbage and claiming that they're going to send me some gold or silver coins, and then I buy the tokens and then they run off with the NXT or the tokens that I bought?
Buyer due diligence is basically what you have. I mean, what you want is someone who you can reliably say that their reputation is worth more than the scam that they would pull off, right? Because then it would not be in their interest scam you.
Okay.
But I mean, there's like with crypto, we have this amazing space where we can do trustless solutions to problems. But in the realm of physical goods, you can't encrypt a physical block of silver. So it's always going to come down to reputation when you're talking about physical objects or some system other than that, other than trustless. It's going to involve an element of trust between you and some party. It could maybe be an insurance company who's insuring the person's assets and not necessarily the person themselves, but you're going to have to trust someone.
Okay, when it involves a physical property.
Involves a physical object, yes.
All right, so let's just say that if you have, let's say instead of issuing ounces of silver, let's say that you were a musician and you wrote a song and you want to issue that on the asset exchange. How would that work then? Because it's a digital asset. It's not a. It's a digital property. It's not a physical property.
Well, I mean, you could potentially do something like that. I don't know that it would necessarily be the most valuable use case for the asset exchange, because basically the big advantage of the asset exchange is that we have a built-in market, and something like a song is a non-scarce resource, and you don't need markets and property rights really to deal with things that don't have scarcity involved. But so in that case, it would probably be better just to issue it on something like the Come From Beyond's digital store project. What's it? I can't remember exactly what it's called.
I think it's called the digital store.
Yeah, digital goods store. That's what it is. Yeah, that would be a better place for something like songs or something like that.
Okay, so basically, if you're selling something that has a fixed cost and a fixed there's not a limited supply of it, then it's better to sell it on the digital goods store versus something that is physical and something that is in limited supply.
I mean, you could artificially create a limited supply of your digital good, and then, by only releasing a certain amount or something like that, and then have it traded. But really, the big advantage of the asset exchange is price discovery, and price discovery is only important in the situation where you have scarcity.
Okay. Now, is it good? Well, by the way, did you guys, Bass or Elizabeth, you guys want to add anything to that so far?
And I'm very glad that Aaron makes clear that it's much broader than IPOs. It's because it's called an exchange, probably. People tend to focus on that aspect of it, but it's much more powerful than that. So I'm happy that we singled that out. So, yeah.
Hey, just real quick, Bass. For some reason, your video jumps up and down.
I'm on a laptop on a wooden table where I'm leaning.
Okay, all right. Just so you're aware. All right. There's a question from the YouTube live stream for Aaron here. And it's by Meanie BBJD, and he says that there's no fractions in prices for the assets.
Well, there can be. You have to do it. You have to take that into consideration when you set it up, because there's a certain amount of information that can be traded in the exchange. So you have to decide on what sort of trade-off you want to make, and how many decimal places you're willing to, how many decimal places you want your asset to be divided into. On my silver bars, it goes to 4 decimal places. So it's just a choice that you have to make when you're creating your asset.
Okay, so that's basically you can control that then.
Yes.
All right. So I hope that answers your question right there, Mini BBJD. Okay. There's a question from Nick Kramer, and he says that are there any BitHouse experts in the Hangout? Would they be interested in hearing? Would be interested in hearing an explanation of those 2 assets, the MGW and the BitHouse. Any of you guys familiar with that?
I'm not familiar enough to feel comfortable speaking for.
Okay.
I can tell a bit about the multi-gateway, but only that it's nearing the end stage of development. Apparently, I know from James that he's ramping up towards the first real release. for people who don't know what the multi-gateway is supposed to do, it's basically it's intended as a way to directly trade, for instance, cryptocurrencies against each other. So a direct trade between Bitcoin and Next, instead of having an exchange in between the third party. It's not a completely trustless solution. That's already clear, but it is a lot less dependent on trust. What I know of it is that it at least is dependent on 3 different servers checking what's being traded, and at least 3 servers. It's being tested, by the way, at the moment. So if people want to help test it, there is a thread about this on the forums. But it is nearing completion.
All right. Maybe once that is done, maybe we can bring the people involved with developing that onto the update here, so that they can explain it to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
All right. There's another question for you, Aaron, from Ishan Singha, and he wants to know if there's any chance of trading altcoins on the next asset exchange.
You can trade.
Is that possible?
An IOU.
Can you trade like a
Yeah.
Dogecoin for NXT coins, or LTC Litecoins for NXT, or how would that work?
You can trade XO's Y Litecoin, XO's Dogecoin.
Okay,
Litecoin, right? The actual unit itself, you can trade a promise to pay that unit, which is going to be tied again back to your reputation.
All right.
This is tied. This is, by the way, exactly what the multi-gateway does. The multi-gateway, you buy a Bitcoin token, put it on the asset exchange, and then that's traded against the next token. So it works in exactly that way. And by checking it by multiple nodes, it takes out the element of, it takes out a lot, not all, of the element of trust.
Okay.
So that's exactly what the multi-gateway is trying to do.
Oh, okay. So it attempts to resolve the issue of the trust issue, because right now,
because it's not possible to directly trade a Bitcoin against Next. The blockchain you can't cross over. So you need the tokens in between.
Okay. So basically, the multi-gateway is like an escrow service, or like a mathematical middleman that is going to handle the transaction to make sure that it goes through.
Yes.
Because the biggest concern that someone would have when, let's say that I'm buying the silver bullion from Aaron, if I send him the money, I want to make sure I get the silver. So you're saying that instead of me having to rely on trusting whether Aaron is going to send me that silver, the multi-gateway serves as the middleman that is going to facilitate that. Is that correct?
Well, again, what Aaron already explained, I don't see any way how to do it with physical goods. This is, as long as you do this with digital goods like coins, then it's possible. But if you use the multi-gateway and Aaron refused to runs off with the silver, you still don't have any silver.
All right. So
that's a different thing.
So there is a advantage and a disadvantage to the asset exchange. Is that if you have a reputation, people will make an attempt to transact with you or do business with you. But if you violate that reputation, then you will no longer be accepted, or no one will ever do business with you again on the asset exchange.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so it would be beneficial to you to maintain your reputation and do what you promised then.
Yes, and there's also still a coming feature. I don't know where the development is, but it is an actual reputation system built into Next. So you
Okay.
have the same thing, the same way like it works with eBay. You basically on eBay, I know that from trading on eBay, one of the most important things is reputation, because then people buy from you. If you come in new, it's much harder.
Yeah.
It's still important to remember that it's a due diligence on the part of the person buying the asset
Yes.
to establish the reputation or to determine the reputation of the person who's issued it.
Yeah.
All right. Is there anything else that? Okay, Aaron just faded out. Okay. I was going to ask Aaron if there was anything else that people needed to know about the asset exchange, but then he disappeared. Just let me see. Okay. Is there anything else that could you? We're in a situation here where could you talk about the Pay Expo event?
Who?
Could you update the community on the results of the Pay Expo event and talk about the contacts and stuff? I know we're limited in what we can talk about because we've been trying to figure out this thing with the Cointropolis issue, and we haven't really had a chance to debrief John about the results of the Pay Expo. So,
Well, what I've heard from not only from very little from John, but also from Lee, the person who got us into the Pay Expo. It's still quite a wide open field. Bitcoin was also represented, but we were in a much better spot for a speech, which John did for us. Still, you can find it on the internet on our forums. People were really, well, we're talking bankers here and large payment processors are really looking for different solutions as opposed to Bitcoin. And Next is for them very interesting. The interest was big. That's basically what I can say right now. They were talking for 2 days straight with different parties there, but I didn't get really a lot of concrete examples yet, so I can't say anything about that.
yeah. Normally we would have we told the community that we would have some information about the Pay Expo update, but because of this Cointropolis issue come up, the times that we did have an opportunity to speak with John, it was regarding the Cointropolis hack, more so than about the results of the Pay Expo. So after we get this done, maybe in the future we'll have some. We can bring Lee on from Text Coins on, and maybe have him give the update. Something that I want to mention to the community is this: is that there sometimes people think that NXT or Bitcoin or any cryptocurrency is gonna butt heads and smash against the banks, something like that. But from the experience that I've witnessed, all right, from when Bass and the team and the Amsterdam team was in Amsterdam, and now at the Pay Expo, it appears that maybe the big banks like Bank of America, HSBC, and Wells Fargo or Chase Bank or some of these big banks, they may not be interested in the cryptocurrencies and its technology. But it appears to me, based on what the feedback that I got from the Amsterdam conference and the little that I got back from the Pay Expo, is that the smaller banks are very interested in this technology because it allows them to give them an edge in the financial services industry. Could you comment on that, Bas? Because you had personal experiences there with the bankers themselves at the Amsterdam conference.
Well, basically, I think it's for them still a large unknown. they don't really know yet what's even happening and what's possible. Some are, but speaking to the people that we spoke to, it's sometimes amazing that they have so little knowledge about what we're actually doing. Of course, a lot is still the bad stories. You will keep getting the bad stories about like crashes, thefts, weapons, blah blah blah. Those are the easy stories. But once you actually start explaining what you're trying to do and how it works, they are surprisingly interested in options outside the things they do now, and that's not really weird, I think. But there's still a lot of education to be done. Also in the same, it, it touches on the things that you just said. Is there are a lot of people that are also afraid of saying, okay, if we move into this thing with banks, we might lose what we are trying to do. That's still a valid question, I think. We're trying to do trustless solutions, and once you move into certain kinds of regulations, aren't we going to lose those? That will be the question for the coming years, I think.
Okay.
Because there are definitely possible conflicts you can think of there.
Okay. Now, there was also the presence of GoCoin there at the Pay Expo. And
Yeah.
what was their role? First of all, what is GoCoin, and what is their role there at the Pay Expo in relation to NXT?
Oh yes, GoCoin is a payment processor. They make it possible for merchants to just use a plugin in their sites, and so they can accept currencies. And in this case, it's and GoCoin does at this moment Litecoin, Bitcoin, and Dogecoin. They have, and what a merchant, one of the things that merchants want, they just want ease of use, and uh, they if they can get new customers by offering that choice, that's great. But if it takes more work than they actually get out of it in profit or in revenue, then it's not interesting. GoCoin and several others solve that problem. They pay out in USD, euros, different currencies. GoCoin's presence at Pay Expo was nothing less or more than saying we are going to add NXT to our mix. That's it. There were no contracts signed. There's nothing going on with Cointropolis that they have a contract with GoCoin. They got GoCoin involved and did talks and fed them information. And GoCoin now finally has officially said, yes, we're going to add NXT. And basically, of course, also they got the opportunity to get on stage in front of a high-profile crowd. That was part of the deal, apparently.
Now, was this the first time that an altcoin was in a high-profile situation like that? And
as far as I know, this is the highest profile where an altcoin has ever been. I'm not sure. I'm not totally sure because I'm not up to date with all altcoins, but I don't think that an altcoin ever has been at a Pay Expo where all payment processors, large banks, etc., were.
so now, now we all know that cryptocurrencies is a revolution and a new technology in payment processing, and so you're saying that NXT was the first altcoin that you know of that was represented at the payment processing, one of the biggest payment processing conventions or conferences in the world at the moment.
Well, it's at least one of the differences is Pay Expo has nothing to do in principle with cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
It used to be a place for basically anyone in the mainstream financial world to network. This is the first time that cryptocurrencies were represented there, and that actually, instead of Bitcoin being the cryptocurrency partner, what next was the cryptocurrency partner next to Barclays Bank, etc., etc., etc. And that's something that is normally you would expect Bitcoin to be there, if anything.
Okay. All right.
And they were there. They actually were there on the second day.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good news. So that's a big plus for the NXT community and the technology then.
Todd,
All right.
there are issues about, or two more questions about GoCoin that come up in the community.
Yeah.
One of them is, when is it going to be implemented? Um, some people expected it to be an immediate implementation, but this could take as much as 30 to 60 days for the different development teams to get together and help that happen. The other big white elephant in the room is the video that they presented as part of their presentation at the Pay Expo. And in the next community, there was a lot of people who felt that that doesn't represent Next. The message, I think we want to make it really clear that the message that was presented in the GoCoin video is not a message that Next would have presented. Some people actually thought.
Yes, because I'm glad that you brought that up because the NXT community is not known to be a racist or a discriminatory community. So that did come as a surprise to everyone when they broadcasted when they played their video at the Pay Expo on the NXT stage there. And for some of the people that missed it, it was the video made some jokes about I guess Indian people and about how they speak English. So it was unfortunate that that was brought up because the organizer of the Pay Expo was an Indian person. So
Yes, and so as thrilled as we are to be partnering with GoCoin, and well, partnering might be a wrong word, but that we're cooperating with GoCoin. We're going to be part of their payment processor. I think that the next community would like to distance themselves just a little bit from the message of that video.
yeah.
And apologize.
Okay. All right. You have something to add to that, Aaron? Okay.
I don't know.
That's
A little bit of a ridiculous video. I don't know what that was supposed to be.
yeah. I don't know what that video was about either. I did not enjoy it either, but I don't think it was necessary to convey who they were. So.
Yeah, also for the GoCoin, as Elizabeth says, 30 to 60 days is the time needed for the Next is different. It has a different structure than Bitcoin and most, not anymore, but most standard altcoins. Let's call it that. So it requires a different implementation. It is a bit weird that that wasn't communicated because everybody was looking at, me too, I was also looking at the GoCoin side and saw nothing. But it is true. And once it's implemented, it will be on the GoCoin side. So 1 month, 2 months.
Okay. All right, that's all I have for today. If you guys don't have anything else, then I'll go ahead and conclude this update for the community.
I was going to say something about the question of antagonism, next and antagonism with the existing banking structure, right?
Okay.
And I think that people tend to homogenize these banks and just think that all banks are basically the same. And I don't think that's necessarily the case, and I don't think we're going to receive a warm reception from J.P. Morgan Chase, but some of these smaller banks are not actually receiving 0% interest rates loans from the Fed, and so they don't really have a hugely vested interest in the current financial system. And so, smaller banks may very well be receptive to our technology and just find it useful in a way that allows them to conduct their own business more efficiently. Whereas larger banks would probably be antagonistic towards us. Not necessarily so with smaller banks. They're a very different animal.
Yeah, the smaller banks don't get all the perks and the benefits, and they don't have money to lobby in Congress like a Bank of America or a J.P. Morgan Chase or HSBC. They're not going to be able to get away with $200 billion worth of money laundering and things like that and not have to go to prison. Okay, so
Yeah.
these smaller banks, because they don't have that advantage and they don't have that edge in the financial industry, they will be looking for technology or any way they can that will give them the edge. And if we present it right, then NXT and other altcoins or Bitcoin can be that edge that they've been looking for to give them an advantage in the banking industry. So I agree with you completely, Aaron, on that. That yes, the Bitcoin and the other altcoins will hurt. Will pose a possible threat to the big banks, but I don't see it as posing a threat to the smaller banks. They probably welcome this new technology because they're going to have the early mover advantage because it's easier for the smaller banks to adopt this technology than it is for the big banks.
You can build services around it.
Yeah. So if you happen to be one of the smaller banks that's looking for that edge or that advantage in the banking industry, and you want to learn more about NXT, please reach out to us. Okay, reach out to me, to Bass, and Elizabeth or Aaron, and we'll make sure that we get in contact. We get you in contact with the right people.
What may be interesting in this too, I think a lot of people have already read this about the Isle of Man. That's the island part of Great Britain that is setting up. They are calling it a crypto valley. Actually, what they are doing, we have one person who actually is there, and one person from BitHouse is going there in 2 days, I think. They are really interested in drilling into this source of value that is crypto. They want to create legislation, or no, not legislation. That's not completely true. But they want to create a place where people can work with this. This actually means more regulation, by the way, because they want to be absolutely sure that it's not money laundering, crime, blah blah blah. But once you're in, then you have the freedom to work with crypto technology and find out and have a free place without the constant doubt: am I doing something wrong? Am I going to be prosecuted? And that's I'm following that with extreme interest, because it means that governments are actually also setting up places. They see that something's happening here. A year ago, this wouldn't be possible, probably, and now governments are experimenting with ways to try to give this a place.
Okay.
So we'll probably in the coming weeks be hearing a lot more from at least the Isle of Man, and I'm looking forward to that.
Okay.
Well, whenever some government tells you they want to help you.
Okay, granted. But still.
Okay. All right. Well, that will conclude today's update, guys. And I'll look forward to catching up with you guys again in the next update. And have a great day, all right?
Thank you, Ty.
And this will conclude this week's update.